Good morning, everyone. Today I've got Mr. Nic Langman here. He is a K1 kickboxer, a Pan Am Games athlete, bronze medal, and overall great guy and businessman. So today we're going to go through how Nic came to be, how he's evolved with his training, his mindset, and his overall approach with regards to competitive kickboxing. Morning, Nic.
Morning, Tom.
How are things over in Aurelia?
Always exciting here.
Oh, good. So I want to first start off, a little bit of background about yourself, how you came to be where you are today, a little bit about kind of how you grew up, where you grew up, and your interest overall in competitive kickboxing.
Okay. So I grew up just north of Aurelia. Spent my whole life here. Just moved in town about 5 years ago when I opened the dojo. In terms of my kickboxing history, I was in karate when I was very, very young, 4 or 5 years old, and then I ended up playing ice hockey, like rep hockey, until I was about 16. I was forced out because of injury, which was awful. And then when I was about 18, 19 years old, I went and tried karate again. And I fell in love with it. And I trained, 6.5 days a week, a few hours a day after working in contracting all day. I loved it, and it was worth it. And after just about a decade of traditional karate, I got my Shodan, my black belt, and then I wanted to, because we didn't compete at the karate club. It was very traditional, no competition, but I wanted to test my skills.
Sure.
And not in the rough part of the town. I wanted to try it out in the ring. So I joined a Senshu tournament, which is Chinese kickboxing.
Okay.
Which is stand-up fighting as well as judo throwing and wrestling takedowns, but you don't fight on the ground.
Right.
Only stand-up.
Gotcha.
And I really didn't know what I was doing. I just went in, very little real training for sport fighting. And I lost, which, I fought hard, but I lost. And but I loved it.
Good.
Even though I lost, it was one of the coolest things I'd ever done. It was like a super high with the adrenaline and all that comes with fighting, a ring fight. And it was at that time that one of my peers from karate introduced me to my current trainer. His name's Madi Serbanik, and when I went to train with him, it was I was very good at the karate club. I was one of the top guys, and I thought I was very good. And then I met this other guy, and he made me into a puddle on the floor very quickly, and continues to do that.
Yeah.
But with his training, 3 months of his training, I got to have a rematch with the gentleman that beat me in my first bout, and I just destroyed him. So a little bit of guidance, new training, and it was a completely different story. And that was sort of my introduction to ring sports.
Right.
I got to go to the Worlds that year. I got a couple more provincial and national titles in the following years, but then Senshu fizzled out in Canada,
right?
Which is too bad because it's really cool. It's one of the coolest combat sports out there, but nobody knows it. It's compared to kickboxing and Muay Thai now, it's not going to make a comeback in North America.
Right.
But with that being said, I had to find somewhere else to compete. I had also finished my university, and I opened the club to start paying down my university debt.
Yep.
And I needed a place for my students to compete, so we got involved in kickboxing here in Canada under CAS, which is the organization name. And some of the clubs that we competed against were very traditional Muay Thai clubs.
Yeah.
And I thought that style was very cool, so started to do my research and whatnot, and we started to adopt a lot of Muay Thai techniques and whatnot into the style that at the time I didn't really realize it, but I was putting together a unique style of fighting.
Yeah.
Which we call Black Lotus or Lotus Boxing now, and it was a compilation of my traditional karate techniques, mostly the kicks, Chinese Senshu techniques, and Muay Thai. So 3 branches of martial arts sort of brought together for not just street self-defense, but combat sports.
Right.
We can fight in multi-disciplines of ring sports.
Oh, cool.
Which is neat, yeah.
And that's strictly what you teach at your place.
Yeah, that's what we teach at Black Lotus. Yeah, it's our own style. It's nothing, nothing is new, but just distilling the best from a few different styles to create what works best.
Right.
Overall.
And that's, from a, taking the best pieces of different disciplines. I mean, really, you're almost eliminating weaknesses or flaws of sticking to a strict. This is the end all be all. This is going to beat everybody. Well, it'll beat some people, but not everybody. It's just like a treatment approach or any other approaches. If you're just looking at everything with a direct line and not being able to deviate or adapt, but what you've done with your style is that's awesome, and a lot of people won't do that, nor have a lot of the creativity or the flexible mindset to deviate from this strict discipline and be like, what, this is awesome about this discipline, this one's awesome about this. Let's bring them in. It's legal. We can use this in this art form or this type of competition. And now you've got more tools in your toolbox, not just this one set of tools. Very cool. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was one of the things that I noticed in my own travels. And I was lucky that I got to compete. I got to compete on Team Canada for Wushu, which is Senshu.
Yep.
I was on Team Canada for Muay Thai in 2015, and I've been on Team Canada twice for kickboxing. Yep. So very lucky that I didn't assume anything was better in certain styles. I actually got to experience what worked better because I was competing in those different styles of martial arts. Nice. And very classic Bruce Lee stuff. Just you can't be rigid. If you're one-dimensional or too traditional, then you're losing out on so many other awesome things. And there's so many great fighting cultures. Why do we narrow in on one and assume it's better than the rest instead of taking what works from the best fighting cultures on the planet and then putting together one style that can fight all styles.
Yeah. Right? And that was what's cool about him. He's just be adaptable and take the best of the best. Like he would study boxing for the footwork, and he would study judo for some of the throws. Like all these different styles, they have their awesomeness about it, but put them together in some kind of format, and you can just kick ass. That's sweet. Yeah.
So that's our philosophy. I don't tell anybody we follow the Bruce Lee thing. He's incredible, but he's many people think it's a little cliche.
Sure. Well, everybody uses his quotes and everything and his philosophy, and I think because it's over quoted, something becomes a cliche at that point. It's like, I've heard this 1,000 times, but I'm like, yeah, but do you truly understand what the meaning is? So if you understand what the meaning is, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But if people saying it don't really know the meaning and they're just saying it for the sake of saying it, then it
loses its magic at that.
For sure, it does.
Right?
Absolutely.
You got to live it instead of just talk it.
Yeah. Well, it was even one of my kids were watching Ninjago, and that whole little speech about be like water.
Okay.
Water is hard, and so like it can be a cup. When water goes into a cup, it becomes a cup. Like be like water. And the sensei's, this is a cartoon. It's a kid's cartoon, Ninjago, right? And the sensei's using it word for word. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, even though it was appropriate for the cartoon and the context, but I'm like, they still threw that whole speech in there that Bruce Lee said just to basically be adaptable like water. So it was interesting. So funny. But so coming from kickboxing and Senshu, from my understanding, the mentality is it's very hard style. It's very force for force. I break you or you break me kind of thing, right? Tell me a little bit about how your mindset and training has evolved as you became an older athlete. When we met 2 years ago, you had this very direct approach and kicking basically the crap out of yourself every workout. How has that evolved, and what strategies have you adopted to continue to progress as you'd be considered an older athlete in the sport, and continue to have success?
So I was lucky. I was lucky coming up in my training that I did have a Tai Chi teacher as well.
Oh, good.
His name's Ian Sinclair. He's from Aurelia. He trained with a gentleman named Grandmaster Liang from out west. Very, very, very high level Tai Chi. And I was very hard, like very direct, very hard style with everything. And he taught me a lot of philosophies about, I don't want to say soft style, because Tai Chi can get very hard, sure. Can be a hard style as well. But the principles of Tai Chi, for example, classic saying, 3 ounces deflects 1,000 pounds. So no matter how hard the punch is coming in, it's very simple to deflect that punch away to avoid danger. And it's just a fundamental principle of the universe, but Tai Chi is the one that encompassed it and sort of put it into their martial arts.
Right.
So a lot of Tai Chi principles, as well as Taoist principles, empty and full, and then taking those philosophies and inlaying them in our martial art gives you a deeper understanding of the totality of combat. Is not just who punches harder.
Right.
It's like a surface component of combat.
Right.
But so that was lucky for us that we had that training from the Tai Chi side. But that, and I'm a science guy as well, not just philosophy. Mm-hmm. I love science. And that was where I think when, trying to blend them all together. So taking the science, taking the philosophy, and then the reality, which is you and your body and your mind, and trying to bring them together. And I think, when I came to you, it started with my shoulder. Yeah. I wanted to compete. I was worried that because of an old shoulder injury, it wasn't going to hold up. And it was like, we very quickly took care of my shoulder, the challenges I had with my shoulder, but the scope immediately broadened when your philosophies and your science was introduced into what it is that we do.
Right.
So, my karate teacher used to say, karate is 10% physical. Mm-hmm. But that's what he would say to us. He would just say it, and then he would walk away and say, "Keep practicing."
Just think about that for a second. I'll be back.
Right. So it's been, it's been like 15, 20 years that I've been thinking about that, and it was only in the last 2 years since I met you mm-hmm. that I was like, "Oh my God, I understand. I understand what that means now." About
interesting. Okay, yeah.
How little physically, yes, you have to be in good shape. You can't cut meat with a dull knife.
Right.
But if you can't use a sharp knife, you're just going to cut yourself.
I love it.
Right? So
Yeah.
so you can have a sharp knife and not know how to use it,
Yeah.
meaning you're in good shape, but you can't apply what your body is able to do.
Right.
If you have a dull knife and a sharp mind, it's not gonna work well either.
Yeah.
So it's finding this balance of, having being in good physical shape, but also making sure that your brain can operate the vehicle efficiently.
Yeah.
So, bringing in the we call it brain training here.
Yeah.
The building the neural pathways, doing all the brain training, because what got me was, well, we've talked about this. I don't know how much, where
Yeah.
I would train for 3 hours and just I would literally kill myself.
Yeah.
I think one time I lost 10 pounds at a workout with my trainer.
Right.
And I'm not a big guy, so to lose that in calories and in sweat is deathly.
Yeah.
But that builds a strong will,
Sure,
no doubt.
Absolutely. There's a place
for
that. Yeah.
To win, and very strong mental fortitude.
Yeah.
But that's 10%.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 10% that we're doing. So my 10% was incredible.
Yeah, it was a great 10%.
But where was the other 90%?
Yeah.
And you started to bring in like the juggling.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And then putting the numbers on the tennis balls and doing partner tosses and all of that stuff. It made the training different. It made the training smarter. So I didn't have to kill myself. And like you said, I'm getting older.
Mm-hmm.
So my body is not going to hold up to that type of training ever. So something has to change.
Yeah.
And it's being able to work smarter.
Yeah.
So more brain training.
Yeah.
More timing, more range, more action reaction, which is not about your hand. It's about your brain, your eyes, and your brain, and all that. So that training, and I think in Mexico, was it last fall? After working with you for a few months, physically I was not in. I was never in better shape than I was then.
Right.
It's not that I was working harder. It's that I was treating my body differently when I worked out.
Yeah.
So activation as opposed to extreme stress all the time.
Yeah.
And dealing with the stress.
Right.
It was building a more wholesome body.
Right.
Which paid off, right? If everything's working properly, you're going to function better.
Yeah.
As opposed to just dealing with stuff and pushing.
Yeah, pushing against everything head on and trying to match force with force. And you can't do that with life, because if you're constantly matching force for force, you're eventually going to lose. And it's like, we'll work with things. Don't oppose things a lot of the times. And so when you started to change your mindset, what were some of the things that you really found the most beneficial with regards to your overall recovery between training sessions? How did you track things? Like, how did you measure things? How did you know when to go hard on a workout versus today's a little bit of a lighter day, I'm not really feeling it type of deal?
Okay. So for Mexico last fall, part of what we had to do with Team Canada was they made us keep a journal.
Good.
So all elite athletes, they have a journal. They log their workouts so that they know what they've done and where they've done work. And I was doing that. I was doing it for a couple months, and just writing down what I did and how long I did it, and to me it was whatever. Like I was doing it because I was told to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily see how I was going to benefit from just writing down what I did, aside from not forgetting what I worked on, right? Which I don't forget what I worked on, because that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
So it was kind of strange. And then I think you had me bring my journal in one time, and we went over the stuff because I think we were talking about my training and how it was going, where it was going, and I said, I don't know, I'm just training really hard and writing my stuff down. So it was like, it felt like at the time maybe I had my foot on the gas, but I was in neutral. Instead of being in gear and going forward, like my foot was on the gas the whole time, but in neutral, so just standing still. And then I think it was quantifying. So we talked about how to quantify a workout, which again, how do you put numbers to a workout, which was very new to me. And once I started to follow your direction with putting numbers to my workout, then all of a sudden I was tracking my levels of intensity, my levels of energy, my durability, and once you can see it, then you can adjust to it as you train. So instead of killing yourself on Monday, killing yourself on Tuesday, killing yourself on Wednesday and Thursday, and then you're literally dead on Friday. Like you can't do Saturday workout.
That workout's going to be useless. Like it slowly, each workout becomes less and less effective because you're not getting maximum output.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So, and I can remember going to Saturdays with my trainer that was our heavy sparring day. So it was like walking into the wolf's den every Saturday and just getting ready to get eaten, right? I can remember showing up. I trained hard on the Wednesday. This was before we did the numbers. Trained hard on the Thursday. And here at my club, Friday's a very tough night. It's our advanced guys, and then we do sparring. So we did a hard workout, we sparred, and then I got up and I went to my trainer's house on Saturday, and they beat the piss out of me, and in a very loving way.
Sure, of course,
not terribly malicious. They're great guys. But
sounds like a great way to spend your Saturday morning. Oh, I'm gonna get up. Yes, today's gonna be awesome.
And he, because he knows me. He's been my trainer for a decade. He knows me very, very well. And, as I was laying on the ground in pain, he said, dude, like, what's going on with you today? Like, what's happening? He said, like, and I said, oh, man, I don't know. I said, I maybe trained too hard last night. He said, well, what did you do? Oh, I gave him the list of everything I did in the last couple of days. And he just kind of shook his head and he's like, man, he's like, you can't keep doing that to your body. You've got nothing left. And then the hardest day of the week, you start off in a deficit. You can't, and it's exactly what his philosophy that day was exactly what you had taught me after that. When I came to you telling you that story, you said the same thing, just as clear, if not clearer than he did.
But you heard it from a different person in a different context, and you're like, now I get it.
The lights went on. But it wasn't until the journaling that I could see. So Mondays were super hard. My numbers were way high. So then Tuesday when I trained, I made it a point to keep my numbers low. Because I knew my body needed time to recover. So instead of doing weights again on Tuesday or sweating out pounds and pounds on Tuesday, it went to mobility, flexibility, muscular activation, and then brain training. So these are things that, you're not necessarily building muscle. You're not necessarily sweating a whole bunch, although, like to sweat each day at least. But it was the 90% on the off days that I was working on. And then kill the 90% the next day. As much of it as you can. And that was when I noticed that, one, I was able to do a lot more on my hard days. I could last longer. I was stronger. I felt better all around. I wasn't as fatigued as I normally was. And I eat well. It's eating, aside from, having to eat more in general to sustain. We always eat quite healthy here. So it's not like my diet was a problem.
Yeah.
But if you do too much in general, your diet is not going to do its job.
Yeah.
So that was huge for me, was the journaling. And like I said, Mexico, after a decade of competing, Mexico was one of my best fights.
Yeah.
I went in super confident. We talked about the affirmations that I had been doing as well. I went in more confident in that fight than I'd ever gone into a fight, and it paid off. It was a great fight. I won unanimously, and then it was sort of on to the next one.
Yeah.
Which the next one was great too. It was the Nationals in the springtime. I got a second round knockout, and same thing. It didn't, doesn't matter who I was fighting. My confidence in my abilities was greater than anything that anybody else can throw at me.
Yeah.
So, it was good. And continuing the journaling, you refine it the more you do it.
Yeah.
You accommodate it to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's hockey or kickboxing or swimming or whatever. And then everything just gets fine-tuned, and it only gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's almost quantifying mindfulness. Like you're writing it down, you're taking it out of your head, you're paying attention to stuff, you're putting it down, and that was good. But now once you start putting numbers to it on how you feel and your energy, and then you can actually really measure and track. You could literally put it in a chart and be like, okay, look, energy's good. Oh, it's starting to dip. I need a day off. Like, that brings everything back to mindfulness and really sharpening and paying attention to not just your body and how it's responding, but how's your mind responding? What's your stress levels like? What's the positive thinking that you're thinking before going into a match? And as a younger fighter, it's always, or even a younger athlete, it's always just about focus on the body. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to get stronger, whatever. But you've done the time, you've done the volume. You did that. Your body knows what to do. And now it's just like, how do I prevent the body from breaking down, but how do I continue on this path of achievement? And that's really where using meditation and breathing practices and brain training and using recovery and using your off days for mindful movement and all that lower intensity stuff, but still high function brain stuff or neural stuff. So it's trying to explain that probably to a younger athlete, they're like, oh, whatever, this is boring, right?
But that's fast and strong.
Yeah, I want to hammer it every time. And when you're younger, you can. Like, that's where you can build the volume. But, when you get older, you can still hit the high intensity. You just can't do it as often. And once you've evolved and became that mature athlete, that's really where you've got enough time under your belt. You've got the body that can withstand a lot of punishment. And now you've seen enough matches and you've seen enough opponents and you've done enough practice. So you're actually going to get a little bit sharper and faster because you can unfold and predict things faster. And now it's just keeping your body, make sure it doesn't break underneath the training, and then just keep everything else sharp. It's very, very cool that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, that's, we've been using that philosophy for quite a while. And even all athletes across the ranges, I don't really care. It's, you develop them the same way. You fix the human athlete, and then you specialize the performance or specialized athlete. But you still, guess what? We're all humans, and we still all run in the same relative nervous system, and we all develop the same way. And, playing with the psychology, that was probably growing up in university, playing university soccer. That was my downfall, was the psychology component. I just didn't know how to mentally prepare. And reflecting back on that all the time, I'm like, I could have did better had I had a coach or had I had somebody to guide me with just visualization. And I didn't figure it out till the last year of university, and all of a sudden I started doing visualization training and unfolding certain scenarios in my head and predicting things, and then all of a sudden it would happen in the field, and it would just become automatic because I practiced in my head. So it's interesting how that evolves, because you do all this physical practice, but if you can't pull it together mentally and you don't have the confidence, like, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's crazy.
One of the things I realized, I've been lucky that I've been involved in lots of high level competition, national, international competitions, and I always said, what defines the champion versus the guy that loses. Mm-hmm. Because international level, everybody's in shape.
Yeah.
Everybody is fast. Everybody is strong. Everybody is vicious. Yet somebody wins and somebody loses. And what is it? What's the difference? If you have two guys that are equally fast, equally strong, equally talented, why does one guy win and why does one guy lose? And quite often it is the visual. Right. Like you said, being able to visualize. Your mental preparation is more important leading up to a fight than spending more time on physical preparation. So once you're good physically, you don't have to be, like we talked about, training excessively hard. Hard training, of course, but going overboard, not so good.
Yeah.
And there's even been studies now. I've watched a lot of psychology shows on they talked about people who they had them visualize. I think it was throwing free throws, like basketball free throws.
Yep.
They had one group just throw free throws. My goodness.
Yep.
Just throw free throws for a couple hours or something. Yep. And they recorded them all. And they had another group only visualize it in their head.
Yep.
Not actually throw anything, but visualize it all day. And then they had them do some free throws.
Yep.
And the group that visualized first for a long period of time did way, way better. Like the numbers are staggering at how much better they did.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, once it's in your head, your body understands it better before you actually perform it.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was South Africa this year when Jess and I went there to fight. The backstory.
So I was going to ask you a little bit about that. So finish your thought here, and then I want to ask a little bit kind of the difference between your experience from Mexico the year before, leading up to it, being there, versus Africa, because they're very different experiences and very different outcomes, but how you had to persevere, so to speak, through those two different experiences, or how you had to adapt, is very, very interesting. So, but continue, what you're going to say there.
So it was basically just, how important the brain training is, and brain training in terms of visualization, not just building the neural connections, but seeing things in your head, playing out the fight in every single scenario possible, good spots, bad spots, everything, and then dealing with it in your head to the point where I can remember doing visualization practice and I had an adrenaline dump.
Right.
So like I'm visualizing being in a fight, being in a bad position, my worst fears in a fight coming true, and I started to sweat. My heart rate was just going crazy. I'm like, God, I'm laying on the couch. But that also confirmed the power of the mind.
It didn't matter. Like, you weren't physically there. Your brain thought you were there.
Exactly, right? The mind's effect on the body is the ultimate. So that led me to the understanding that if you have to control your mind. Controlling your body is easy, but controlling the mind is that's next level. But that's what the visualization is for. The meditation, the mindfulness, all of these things are that's mind training. Right. So to relate that to the two competitions, which were 6 or 7 months apart. Mexico was good. Like everything leading up to it. Physical training. I did the brain training. Had my affirmations. I got there. And I wasn't nervous for my fight. I fought very well, and it went well. There was an issue there towards the finals. It was like an administrative issue. I'm not going to get into that, but it prevented me from fighting my last fight, which is too bad. But it happened. I got one fight, but the conditions leading up to Mexico were very good. Training was good. My trainer, everything like that was good. We we got to stay in it was like a 5-star hotel resort thing, which I'd never been to. So
conditions were perfect, right?
Yeah. Good food, weight cut was good, everything was good. Like everything was good leading up to it. So that was awesome. And then we did the nationals in between. Same thing. Good training camp, good training partners. Everything was good. Crushed it at the nationals. My club had three out of 4 fighters won national titles. Nice. So we trained hard and we were ready. And then a couple months later, we were leaving for South Africa. And in that time, so Jessica, who was fighting, she had a pretty severe back issue. Where we were already going to the event. There was no turning back. So she had to actually stop physically training and work on the rehab of the circumstances for a month. Which, I mean, you know her; she's a go-getter.
Oh yeah.
But for her to not do something was very, very challenging for her. And you know what she did? She listened. She worked her way through it. And its benefits since have been incredible. And then with myself, my trainer, he was going out west for a motorcycle trip for like a month and a half or something. So I didn't have my trainer.
Right.
I train my fighters, my students personally, but I need my trainer as well. Training yourself is exceptionally challenging. And so that made it tough not having him around. And then was it 4 weeks before we left, I contracted it's called cryptosporidium, and it was an intestinal parasite. Like on the couch for about 2 weeks, couldn't do anything physical, sick, like really sick.
Yeah.
So here I'm, I'm in the most important components of the fight camp, the training camp, and I'm ill. I'm so sick I could barely walk upstairs. And then again, I came to you with it, with my issue about how concerned I was about losing my cardio and losing what I'd worked for up until then. And then, your reassurance on go to the brain training.
Right.
Go to visualization. Go inside your head and keep your training sharp.
Yeah.
And I trusted you. I trust you 100%. You've never led me awry, which is crucial for that trust.
Good track record so far.
It is good. It's been excellent.
I'll try and keep that up for you. Don't worry.
But and I did it because the reality is I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go run. I couldn't do anything physically. So I dedicated everything to brain training, the affirmations, visualization, the meditation, and to be honest, in the back of my mind somewhere, I pondered my cardio.
Right.
I know I've been through it where you work hard for a long time and then you take a week off and then you try to come back and you're like, oh man, this is tough. This is tougher than it should be.
Yeah.
And I worried a little bit about that, but when we were going there, so I think I only got about a week's worth of reasonable training before we actually left because of my illness.
Yeah.
And Jessica as well, she had some kind of a lung infection weeks before it.
Yeah.
So we were both, and we didn't tell anybody because we want morale to be high, right?
Sure,
Camp's awesome.
Yeah.
But with her as well, it was visualization, affirmations, meditations, and when we got there, conditions when we got to South Africa were rough. They were quite rough. We stayed in a rough part of of Pretoria. Our diet when we got there, the South Africans do not eat, in our standards, they don't eat well.
Right.
Don't believe in carbs and vegetables. They just eat meat as much as they can, like 4 times a day. They have meat meals.
Yeah, and you have some vegetarians or vegans on your team too, right? Like that would have been tough. Yeah.
three vegetarians who probably suffered more than the rest of us.
Right.
So in terms of nutrition, when we got there, especially after cutting weight, being on a plane for like two days or something like that, it was awful. And like, I mean, team morale was way down. And Jessica and I talked about this so much, like when we were there, and I kept saying, like, you know what, we're here to fight. Yeah. So just, don't worry about the accommodations. Don't worry about, the nutrition or lack of or whatever that's been happening. I said, like, we're here for the hardest, 6 or 8 minutes of our lives here. We're here to win. Yeah. And we kept going back. We kept going back to visualization, meditations to calm ourselves and to not be consumed by the training camp, not be consumed by the negative things that we felt had happened to us leading up to the fight. Nice, good. And Team Canada, it was a good team. Like, we had a good team, but we certainly noticed the payoff from our brain training. Yeah. Where even driving to the venue, I looked back I was at the front of the bus, and I looked back, and there was just these faces of we already lost. Right. On the way to the venue, like, people were like battling depression on the way to the venue because things were so unfavorable for us. And I said to everybody, I said, you guys, if we got off the bus looking the way we do, South Africans are going to be like, they already won. Yeah. Their fights are going to be easy, which is going to make them that much hungrier. Yeah. And more willing to try and come and lay a beating on us. So I said, when you get off the bus, forget how hungry you are, forget how crappy you feel and how much lack of sleep you've got. Right. I said, everybody get off the bus with your chest out, with your chin up, and just looking like you're about to eat one of these guys for breakfast. Right. Like be stoic about this. Yeah. And they did. Yeah. And it worked very well in our favor. But when we got to the venue, again, when we got to our spot, which was sort of way at the back, and we just sort of relax and get our stuff set up, then the nerves came out with most of the team. Yeah. You could see it. Whereas Jess and I, it was like, we just relaxed. Yeah. We were chill. Yeah. We were going through our stuff in our head. Yeah. And leading up to the fights, despite everything that happened, we were in a good place. Nice. We were ready. Yeah. So, like, we'd let go of, my training camp wasn't the best. We'd let go of the flight, the weight cut. We let it all go.
With one bathroom between 12 people.
Man, and just brought our focus to a point at the time. Yeah. And it was the brain training. It was being able to control your mind and not let it get away from you. Nice, perfect. About what happened up until that point. Right. Yeah. And I think with most fighters, amateurs, even professionals, until you have a wealth of experience, and even when you do, if your mind gets away from you, you're out of balance. Yeah. You're not going to perform as good as you can if your mind isn't in tune with what you have to do, and that's being able to relax and focus. Yeah. Right? So if you're worried about this, you're worried about that, you're not in focus. Yeah. You're not in tune.
You're going to get caught with a jab or a kick.
Exactly. Yeah. Because your head is not where it should be. Exactly. So, and you know what? We both lost in South Africa. But we both had good fights, and just, Team Canada didn't do exceptional overall there. Right. But you know what? A lot of them fought very, very hard. Very tough opponents. Like giving it to South Africa. Those guys fight. They fight a lot. Yeah. The team that we fought was selected of somewhere around 500 athletes. Wow. Fought their way to be on the team. So South Africans are very tough. They're very good. They love to fight. Like, they love to fight, which is what makes them as dangerous as they are. Yeah. So I can only imagine, how it would have been in terms of turmoil had we not had that brain training and the visualization work. It was incredible. So now, taking everything I've learned and applying it to my own gym,
Right.
where I make the kids do the tennis balls with the numbers.
Yeah, water ball.
Yeah, they start juggling, so they'll come in early and they start juggling and working on their skills. We've done affirmations. My competitive adults, they log, and I've taught them how to quantify, and they've been working on quantifying their workouts and everything. Nice. So now it's trying to create, trying to work on that 90% mental.
Yeah.
More than how much of the physical we did, because physical is great. You sweat, you get some abs, you lose weight, everybody's happy, but we're missing the substance.
Yeah,
we have the physical nature, but the substance that drives the vehicle ultimately is the brain, the mind.
Yeah.
So I can't thank you enough, actually. And
well, it was. You're an incredible athlete, incredible student. You take everything in, and you know how to quickly apply it. You make relevant of the information. And so coming to all that, like everything you've learned over your years as a martial artist and a dad. So do you take a lot of the principles, and now everything you've learned up to this point, how do you apply it to an everyday life? You're a dad and a business owner and a teacher and an athlete. Like, how do you apply everything now into basically do all those things? Because that's a totally different stress, and stress is stress, and we got to adapt to it. What's starting from your morning routine? How do you set up your day, and then how do you move through your day so you can stay like you're a very positive guy after all that crap? When you came back from Africa, and you're telling me this story, I'm like, God, that sounds awful. Like, holy cow! But you kept a positive mindset, and you, being a great leader that you are, you didn't let it rattle you. You reflected. Everyone looked up to you, being the kind of the senior athlete, and you projected. You didn't let it rattle you, because as a leader, like if the leader is getting rattled, that's going to trickle down to everybody else. So kudos on you. Like, that was awesome. A lot of people would have buckled under pressure and be like, "We're screwed. Everyone jump off the bus." So coming back to my question, like, what principles have you learned from martial arts, from your training, from everything that you apply every day to basically fight the battle of not life, but just every day? Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good question. And you know what? I've learned just about everything I've learned has come from martial arts.
Right.
And a lot of it is being able to apply what you've learned to your life. Yep. That's one of the big challenges. And things like, discipline, right? Self-control, especially in karate. Mm-hmm. That was a big one. Yeah. Was just being able to control your emotions. Right. And if you can control your emotions, you're not going to lash out in anger.
Yeah.
You're going to get angry. We all do. If you say you don't, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that can control it.
Yeah.
And I say get rid of it, but just not let it get the best of you until it passes. Because anger, like all emotions, it sort of just comes in a wave.
Yeah.
And then it moves on. And if you can be calm for the time and do a little bit of reasoning or rationalization, that emotion is going to be gone shortly. And you'll come back to where you were, and you'll be like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad.
Right.
And that stuff is all super, super important. Acceptance. So I do a lot of reading. I love Eastern philosophy.
Yeah.
Buddhism is great if you can sort of get to the root of it.
Yeah.
Acceptance is one of the biggest lessons, and one of the scariest lessons that can be learned is, I say accepting our fate, depending on what you feel fate means.
Sure.
We're all going to die.
Yeah.
You can accept it and be happy and okay about it because it's what happens.
Yeah.
Or you can be afraid of it and you can fight it and you can live in turmoil and fear, which all those things are unproductive mindsets. So gratitude is a productive mindset.
Right.
And positivity, being positive is a productive mindset. Who's going to want to be around you if you're always, oh, this sucks, that sucks, I hate my life, blaming this, blaming that. It's only a matter of time before the finger gets pointed at you for somebody else's problem, right?
And you'll attract that, right? Negative energy attracts negative energy and positive with positive. So, I mean, you are a product of your environment, and if you're projecting a negative outlook of the world, well, that's what you're going to constantly see. If you are looking at the world as a beautiful, safe place, well, that's the environment you're going to live in, and you're going to lead a lot less stressful life. Yeah,
absolutely. Ownership with that. So being able to take ownership over your life. Everything that's happened to me in my life, I've had lots of ups.
Yep.
I've had lots of downs. My ups almost equal my downs in my personal life as well as my professional life. It's all by my hand. My ups were by my hand and my downs were by my hand as well.
Right.
Nothing that's ever been done to me by somebody else, like accepting every fault as my own is an important component of martial arts. If somebody punches you in the face, whose fault is that?
You didn't get out of the way.
It's my fault if I get punched in the face, right? That's very black and white of it. If you get screwed over at a professional fight by contract, did you look at the contract? No. Who hired your manager?
Yeah.
Whose fault is, so everything can be traced back to you. As soon as you start pointing fingers at people, you're going backwards.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And same as in life. I'm finding now we're trying to expand our gym.
Yeah.
So I had an opportunity to fight in China in December, semi-professional fight, huge promotion, WLF.
Yeah.
And if I won, I would have got a professional contract.
Right. Wow.
I would have paid a lot of money to fight in China and in Canada.
Yeah.
This is one of the things, like I said, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
I've so hard my whole life. This opportunity came up, but I had prior commitments.
Right.
I have a business to run. I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. And my time can't be divided between training for a semi-pro fight in China. The Chinese are crazy.
Right.
They train all the time.
Wow.
Like they're
very disciplined. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't half-ass train.
No.
And then, you go and get your ass whooped overseas. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
My business, especially at this pivotal point where we're going from a tiny space to a big space, we're evolving every part of the club. That needs my time. So giving up, and I say giving up, but it's really putting it on hold.
Sure.
Something that I've worked my whole life for.
Yeah.
The ability to compartmentalize that and put it on hold while I commit to my priorities.
Right.
Very tough, because everyone's like, "Oh, chase your dream," like just go for it. Well, you know what? If I went for that, I'd probably lose my business opportunity.
Right.
I'd lose future, like a better future for my family.
Right.
There's all of these things that, are more important than what I want personally.
Yeah. Which is
great.
There's a lot of honor in that. Like you just went through a bunch of, you basically answered my last question on like 3 things that you've learned from your life up to this point that people could take away, and using acceptance, positive thinking, ownership, gratitude. you talk about it all comes back down to you as the individual. Don't point fingers. And there's a real big lack of integrity and ownership today. It's always somebody else's fault. It's not my fault. I'm like, well, then you're putting fate in somebody else's hands instead of your own. So you can sit here and bitch about it and get nothing done, or don't change your position in life, or don't change whatever you don't like because you have the power to do so. Or you can just sit here and bitch because it's easier. Yeah. So like that, I mean, my last question, you've already answered it, and you did it in such a beautiful way, and you just reinforced what like an honorable individual you are, and how your responsibility. You could have like taken, I'm going to go fight across overseas, but you've got kids and you've got a business and you've got other things that you're committing to, and you're sacrificing that dream for right now for a bigger one. And not a lot of people will look that far into their future to be like, you know what, I see a bigger picture, a happier kind of life over here versus this short-term life over here of potential fame and good money, right? So like, good on you, man. Like that's awesome. Like this is where it's such an honor working with you, and being your friend, and watching you evolve as an athlete and a person. I'm like, I'm honored. It's awesome.
The feeling's mutual.
Well, thank you.
Just absolutely, feeling's mutual. And like I said, I can't thank you enough. With the philosophy of taking the best of all things, you're definitely top notch in everything that you do. And I love working with you. I love your mindset. How you display your philosophies in your practice.
Right.
I've been to physio guys. I've been to chiropractors. Like, I've done all that stuff. And then when I was introduced to you, my mindset changed on it again, because, everybody was following that rigid routine that they would, whatever it was, wherever it came from, being one-dimensional and this is sort of what we do and how it is, and that's it.
Right. And
then I met you, and all of a sudden, there's so much more to it. You've taken, it's a lot like what I've done with our martial arts style, where you didn't just do something rigid, distilling the best and then overlaying it with the particular philosophies that help put it together.
Yeah.
Like the glue of the styles, right?
Yeah.
And being an athlete, finally meeting another athlete who's as heavily involved in what you do in your practice.
Right.
It's been incredible. And I look forward to working with you in the future, not just personally for my own, future aspirations, but also, my business that's growing. I would love to incorporate a lot of your philosophies into our business.
Yeah.
People need what you do, and if we can help get exposure to you, because I have so much respect for you, I think that would be amazing.
Well, I appreciate that you still call me an athlete as much as I try to be. I'm getting up there, but I try and keep up. So this has been awesome. This is a great interview. Where can people find you?
We're on Facebook. Okay. The club Black Lotus Kickboxing on Facebook. We have a website, blacklotuskickboxing.com. Contact information is on there. We are, like I said, we're opening a new facility.
Awesome.
In the south end of Aurelia. We're going from about, I don't know, maybe 12 or 1,400 square feet where we've been for 5 years to a place that's about 4,000 square feet. Awesome. We're going to have grappling arts, our kickboxing, our striking, as well as a fitness center. So we're sort of gonna have the whole deal, and we're looking at a grand opening sometime maybe mid-November, early December.
Perfect.
So we're gonna try and get as many people out as we can, just to see the facility.
Yep.
Maybe catch a training session.
Perfect.
Just to see what it is that we do, and just to try and get more people involved in martial arts, because martial arts is it's therapy, right? It's a lifesaver for a lot of us.
So many things that you can learn and take from martial arts: the discipline, the mindfulness, the self-control. Like, these are a lot of things that are just lost, especially today. Kids lashing out and carrying knives, and they just don't know. They don't have this emotional intelligence anymore. And martial arts is one of those great forms where you can really dial that in and look and pay attention to yourself and deal with emotions and control what they're doing, so you're not physically, losing your shit, essentially, right? Yeah, which you see a lot of in kids today. But no, this has been great, Nic. I'm really glad we could connect. And anybody looking for you, we'll post. I'm going to put your website up. Keep everybody posted when you're going to do the grand reopening. I'm planning on being there, and it'll be great. I'm pumped.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Nic. So I will talk to you soon. Take care, my friend.
All right. Thanks again.
You're welcome.